If you're not shooting straight in Battlefield 6, you are doing yourself and your teammates a big disservice. So help yourself out and try my settings. If you guys find this video helpful, all I ask is you drop a like on it and make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on. Let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it here. Of course, we're gonna jump straight into the control settings, as this is a primarily controller-based or focused video. I wanna make sure you guys are fully taken care of. There's a couple of different things in here, but what we're gonna first do is we're basically gonna go into the actual control settings. Then we'll go all the way down to the very bottom and show you guys some of that other stuff, but let's get into this. So first thing here, you guys will notice, I'll just take my mouse and scroll over that. You can see that little like box right there. That means I've actually altered this sort of setting. That means I've actually changed it from the default. So I just want to put that out there. But the first setting here is going to be the infantry aim sensitivity. This right here, I plan a 55. I find this to be really good. I originally started off playing at around a 45. Felt that was a little bit too slow. I like to be able to look around a little bit faster. It's kind of like you're looking back and forth, all that sort of stuff. Like, this is what that's going to change, and you can even test that out in the firing range, which I highly suggest you guys do, especially after you utilize my settings. Test it out in the firing range before you go in game. After that though, field of view, this is kind of a little bit interesting that it's in the controller tab, but I do understand why it is there. Your FOV, this is going to be something that's a little bit more personal preference, as there's not like a true goated FOV, something like that. FOV does help you see more of what's going on around you, and it also in turn, when you're zoomed out a bit more, it makes it so that your gun's visual recoil looks like it's a lot less. So I think there's benefits right there. If you're playing like a TV way far away, maybe it's not the greatest being 120 as things are maybe more zoomed out and you're already farther away. But if you're playing on a monitor, they're sitting at a setup like myself, then definitely playing on 120 is going to be, the move. Vertical aim ratio, that can stand at 56. Same with this, vertical zoom ratio. We don't really need to mess with that at all. Uniform infantry aiming, we're actually going to toggle this setting off just for a sec in a little bit, but I'll show you guys kind of how to do that. Your zoom sensitivity coefficient, so this right here, basically when you zoom in and you're actually like looking around, the more you up this, the faster you're going to look around. You could take this and I could, let's say, bump this all the way up to 300, and when I zoom in, I'm going to be going literally everywhere. It's going to be absolutely absurd. So we don't need to add acceleration to our overall zoom sensitivity coefficient. It does not make you any better. If anything, you want this to be at 0 or to even lower it. That way you have less of your sensitivity when you're ADSing, so it's harder for you to come off target, right? That would make sense. Infantry aims assist, you want that at 100. Slow down, you want to keep that at 100. Infantry aim input curve, this is pretty crucial. If you want to do something that's actually let's say really funny, then you'd go and try dynamic. This is an absolute joke. Do not ever do this. This you will literally not be able to aim properly at all. It's actually absurd how bad it is. So don't ever try that unless you want to have a real fun laugh. But otherwise, I'd say basically Battlefield 3, this one that's actually, turn my face cam off for this, but Battlefield 3, this curve right here, and basically that one, and Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4, basically these ones are going to be relatively about the best. You can see they're relatively gradual, which does help you out. Standard is also technically not bad, but what I found the most success with, but staying straight on Battlefield 3, I've been testing out all of them. Bad Company 2, all those ones, they feel very slow, and they definitely feel like you came from Bad Company 2. So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. I love the way Bad Company 2 feels, but in Bad Company 2, I don't want to be playing Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 6. I want to be able to be at my optimal, performance on this game, and that's not really going to help me with that. Unless I have to change a whole bunch of other settings just to run Bad Company 2, so I don't want to do that. After that, stick input acceleration presets. You want to keep this on Battlefield 4, 3, and Bad Company. If you don't have this, find something that has Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3. I think some people in consoles say they don't have access to this for whatever reason. I don't know why there would be a difference right there, but just put that right where it is. Your you're aiming left and right acceleration. This right here, I've narrowed it in to basically be about a 30. It's a little bit harder to explain, but that curve, that acceleration curve does help you. It feels a little bit too slow when I'm at 0. It feels faster when I go over to 50 or 100 or 200 or whatever it is. That'd be absurdly fast if I went over here to 100. I don't really want to do that at all. I want to keep it right down there about a 30, as I feel like that is just the kind of the sweet spot in the acceleration of my aim. That's really what it's doing. It's accelerating it just a little bit, and I just need a little bit of that nudge, not really much else, You put it at 100, that's where your aim's gonna start going real wonky. You want to dial this back. Down here, and for your infantry sprint, you can keep this on like toggle. You don't want to do that. I know a lot of people run auto sprint. For me, for whatever reason, it doesn't really work that well with my controller. I'm not sure if it's just a me thing. Probably is, but for my specific controller, it doesn't really work that great, or I don't notice the difference between sprint and auto sprint. So I just keep it on sprint. My sprint is going to be my left stick as I try to play more of that, like, I want to call it like a Call of Duty tactical vibe, where I'm pressing sprint in there, you know, I'm meleeing with my, you know, my circle or my B, whatever it may be. Like I'm trying to do it like that, as that's what feels comfortable to me. But overall, these settings are great, you know, for everybody. Of course, moving on down here, you want to keep this on, obviously, stand on. Slide can be your right stick if that's what you have it set to. I like doing that because I can go slide, I can go prone by hitting, like, holding down the right stick. I like that. That's why I like to go for that tactical sort of thing. I don't want to have to take my thumb off the stick or press a button in order to slide or go prone or do anything else like that. That to me just does not make sense. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here. You can see crouch slide is gonna be on all. Double tap crouch slide is just gonna be on. I can really use that. I don't usually perform a sprint slide all that much, but it is still definitely useful. Infantry weapon zoom is going to be on hold. That's pretty natural. Zoom, like I said, I like to play on that Call of Duty-ish style thing. So my zoom and my fire is actually going to be my top bumpers instead of my bottom triggers. For me, that feels natural to do. I like it. You don't have to do it at all, but for me, that's something I like. My steady scope is going to be on hold. And then, of course, my steady scope button is my right stick, which I find very easy to be able to do. I don't really feel like I need to press any other buttons or any other configurations. That's not really something that's necessary. So down here, of course, in my infantry zoom aim sensitivity, this is going to be at a 60. And what this does is, of course, it adjusts the sensitivity of the infantry weapon zoom, which all we're trying to do is just lower it down from that base what we have. Now down here to your zoom transition sensitivity smoothing, you can see mine is off, but it is grayed out. Now we're gonna go back up here to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, which is gonna be your uniform infantry aiming. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and turn this off, which unlocks some of these other things that we can mess with here, right? But the main thing is that we wanna be able to go ahead and do this. This is gonna be on for most of you guys out there. You wanna actually go ahead and turn this on to off, and then go back up in here and turn on your uniform infantry aiming, and that will block out the rest of this. You can see if I turn that off, that actually allows you to mess with some of the stuff in here. So you can see you can actually mess with that. But of course, go ahead and just toggle that, you know, to on, and then make sure that this down here, this setting is going to be off. We do not need any of that zoom sensitivity smoothing. That basically kind of makes your aim assist kind of like a gradual ramp up when you go from sprinting or moving to aiming. We don't want that at all. That's just not beneficial. And for you guys that are down here that are maybe thinking about having a custom sensitivity per zoom, this is kind of what I basically set mine at, though this doesn't apply to me because everything is like uniform infantry aiming is on. So I don't feel these settings unless I go and turn it off. Then I will feel the rest of this stuff down here. But overall, I'd say maybe start at like a 90, maybe go down to like an 85 or something like that. That's really all about you want. When we get down to these higher zooms, you don't need to have your aim sensitivity that high. Like, you want it to be probably lower so you don't overcorrect. As if you're using a 10 times scope, you're probably not making very big corrections when you're trying to take somebody out at farther distance. And down here, really the only other thing, and just below this, the only other thing you guys really have to do is go to your interact and reload behavior. Mine's on prioritize interact. That way I can just get in vehicles, out of vehicles really quickly. I can always tap to reload very easily, stuff like that. I find this to be really good. You can always just tap to reload. It doesn't really reload tab, interact / hold. Like, it can be that. Doesn't really matter. But if you're just trying to maybe, let's say, play this and play some red sec and have one generic setting, prioritize interact is going to be great for all you guys out there. Otherwise, the rest of these settings down here are essentially going to be the default ones, as I also don't use any of this infantry flick stuff. I don't feel like that is necessary or it is beneficial for me at all. All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys some of these custom mappings just very briefly. As you can see, some of the things that will be a little bit handy. So I'm just going to go over here. You can see the call-in gadget that's like RT. I've changed things so that way the things that were going to be on the top bumpers are on the bottom bumpers. So you can kind of switch some of that stuff around. Very easy to be able to do. One nice little hint, tip, and trick is, I believe it's right down here, your rangefinder. If zeroing in, see, this is LB is the button that I aim in with. So it's like Why would I not, aim in and at the same exact time zero in my rangefinder? So I'm doing two things with one button, and it's not taking me pressing anything else or zeroing in anything else. It's literally just I'm aiming and it's already zeroed in. So for any guys that are sniping out there, very beneficial to go ahead and have this binded to your whatever your ADS button is. Definitely go ahead and do that. You don't have to have it be your top bumper like me. That's just my preference. But overall, everything else in here is just basically going to be made to feel like a Call of Duty tactical flipped style of control, as that's what I've been playing with for a long time on first-person shooters, and I try to always recreate that so it allows me to go seamlessly from one game to the other and I can feel good. So now we're back here at this menu. This is going to be very simple but also very, very useful. What you want to do is go all the way down to the very bottom and see this joystick thing. This gets a lot of people. People think when they click on this, or they're like, oh my god, dead zones, like that's where my dead zones are because it says joystick. No, if you take a look at this, people in Battlefield like actually using the legitimate joysticks to fly planes and helicopters, and they really get into it. It's not my thing. Listen, I don't care about it. I really am an infantry-based guy. So this right here is all for your vehicle guys and dudes that legitimately are using actual joysticks, not people on controller. This down here, controller tuning, this is for your actual controller. So let's actually get into this. So controller vibration on, mine can be at this just because I've reduced rumble packs. I don't mind a little bit of haptic feedback. It doesn't bother me. If you have crazy rumble packs, obviously turn it down, right, or turn it off. It's not gonna mess with your aim, but if it feels good to you, feels natural, don't let someone tell you that's gonna mess you up. If you think your vibration is messing up your aim, you have much bigger problems than the vibration of the controller. That's not gonna do that to you. Down here, this is where it's going to get very, very crucial that you guys have the correct settings dialed in so you can react fast enough. So right here, control the left stick and axial dead zone. So I played a 0-0. I like to play on that. It is not necessary, but I do think it's very useful. So I'd say to lower it down as low as possible, and that way you can be at the biggest advantage when it comes to having no sort of dead area movement on your controller. So when you have your left stick at a 0, that means the moment I get a millimeter of movement that my controller registers, I start going forwards, backwards, left, right, whatever it may be, I instantly do that. I like that. That feels good to me. Now my max input threshold, this is going to be at a 60 because on that left stick, I want y'all to think about this. The left stick, you're only moving around on that left stick. So what do we need the full circumference of that stick if all we're trying to do is just go forward? Why not just use only 60% of the area for the maximum input? That allows you to trigger your maximum input by only going 60% of the way. Obviously, you're still going to push the full way, but you're triggering that movement way before you get to the end of the analog stick area. So that's very, very nice. And I like that quite a bit. So you guys definitely should do that. I'd say your dead zones here, you will have to watch out if you got stick drift. Your player might move around automatically. Just kind of go the lowest you can without having stick drift kick in. If you don't have stick drift, awesome sauce. I don't really have any. If you do, you might need a new controller. Right stick, this is a bit of a different story. This is what you're aiming with. So this is going to really throw some people off if you have a low dead zone, because it's going to feel very, very like sensitive. This feels normal to me because I've been playing on a 0 dead zone for a while now, and I like the way that feels, but a lot of other people may not. So what I'd suggest is if you're on like a 10 or a 15 or something kind of egregious, you definitely want to dial that back. Maybe like a 10, like a 15 down to a 10, down to a 7 to a 5, like lower your dead zone. It allows you to aim better and more precise. There's things you're gonna have to maybe get used to, but it is better to be able to aim properly and have all your movement register. Because let's say take my dead zone here and I move this up to a 15, that's 15 degrees or whatever you want to call it of my, dead zone. That's going to be literal no movement, not registering anything. So it's like, no, I want that to kick in. Like I want to be able to aim and fine tune and make these small flick movements. And that's going to help you do that. So this right here, very crucial to have it as low as possible. Doesn't have to be a 0. Max input threshold though, this can be at 100 because, well, that's what you're aiming with. We don't need to cut off any of that stick. Like it's already a small enough area on your controller that we're using to aim with the joystick. That's why controllers have aim assist, and mouse and keyboard doesn't, because you can use your whole arm and everything like that. We got our thumbs. So you want to make sure you get all that area there. Don't dial that back. So my left trigger dead zone, my right trigger dead zone, this set is 0. I think I had this sit at like a 10 or a 15, something like that, just because I have mouse click triggers and they're very sensitive. I think on Battlefield, I don't really have to deal with that as much right now with the issue. So I think that's more of a Call of Duty based thing where I will legitimately have it auto press in things. And it's not fun. So for me right now, this would be a point where maybe I'd have like a, I don't know, 5 or 10 dead zone, and it's not going to matter. But for everybody else out there that's got a normal controller, have this at a 0. Like, unless you, for whatever reason, got issues where your controller auto presses in something, you know, then you can have a dead zone. But if it doesn't, don't do that. Your max threshold can be at 100. It doesn't really matter. That's going to be that. All right, ladies and gents, that's going to be all the controller settings you guys need to know. If you guys found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see y'all next time.